everyone. My name is Rex Doherty. I'm the Artistic Director of Theater of Solas Nua here in Washington, D.C. Solas Nua is the only contemporary Irish arts organization in the nation's capital. We present, produce, and commission multidisciplinary work and bring the best Irish talent to U.S. audiences. In November of 2022, I was very proud to have produced the North American premiere of The Playboy of the Western World as adapted by Bisi Adigun and Roddy Doyle. I've been delighted by the academic interest in this remarkable adaptation, and I'm very happy to introduce two special guests for an ongoing and in-depth conversation about Playboy. Today's discussion is led by Eva Roa White. Eva is a professor of English and chair of the English and Language Studies at Indiana University. Her research focused primarily on Irish and immigration studies. She has authored a book, A Case Study of Ireland and Galicia's Parallel Paths to Nationhood. Her articles about identity migration and hybrid cultural and national identities in Irish, Galician, and South Asian studies have appeared in multiple publications. She is writing an essay on Bisi Adigun's multicultural collaboration on the adaptation and production of J.M. Synge's The Playboy of the Western World, and is writing a memoir, The Immigrants' Daughter, Back to Galicia. Our other guest is playwright Bisi Adigun. He is also a documentarist, a percussionist, performing artist, dramatist, and theater producer and director. Before joining Bowen University in Iwo in Nigeria as a senior lecturer in October of 2019, Adigun was an adjunct lecturer of African theater and performance studies at Trinity College, Dublin in Ireland, where he earned his PhD in drama in 2013. Between 2000 and 2003, Adigun was a co-presenter of Mono, RTE's flagship intercultural television magazine program. In 2003, he founded Arambe Productions, Ireland's first and only African theater company, for which, as its artistic director for over 16 years, he produced and directed over 25 productions in Ireland, Nigeria, and the United States. Adigun is currently editing a book of essays on tributes on Ola Rotimi, the renowned Nigerian playwright and director. And he's also working on an adaptation of Brian Friel's Philadelphia, Here I Come. Welcome to Eva and Bisi. I'll hand it over to Eva from here to continue the discussion, but I hope everyone enjoys watching the special conversation between Eva and Bisi. Thanks so much.
Okay. So, Bisi?
Yeah.
Glad to see you and have another opportunity to talk about your play, The Playboy of the Western World, and particularly the American production that I had the privilege and pleasure to see firsthand in Washington, D.C. So what were the key differences between the Irish production and the American production?
Well, the difference is, first and foremost, the fact that the American production is actually done by Americans, people who are not Irish. So it's directed by Shinara, produced by Rex, and of course, the cast is consisted of different people like African Americans. So I think the guy who played Sean is actually English, you know? Oh. So I would say that production is different from the casting. So the cast. So basically, when it was done in Dublin, all of the actors that played the Irish parts were all Irish. In fact, some of them are really Dubliners, you know what I mean? So they were able to bring that Dubliness out of the play. Yes. Right? And also, I don't know which of the plays, which of the productions you saw, if you saw any of them in Dublin. We got Olu Jacobs to play the father. And I was originally reluctant to Giles Terrera, but the more I looked at him and Olu Jacobs, the more I see the similarities between them. They actually look like father and son. So I thought that casting was very good. And of course, Jazz is a fantastic actor. So what I'm trying to say is one can argue that the Irish production from, the Ireland production from casting perspective is more authentic than the casting in America. Particularly, I thought the guy who played the Playboy in America was very, very good. I thought it was very, very good. But without demeaning the guy who played Chief Malomo, he was very American. You know what I mean? In terms of the casting, I would say authenticity. The Irish production is more authentic, and of course, it has to be because it was written in 2006. It was produced in 2007. It is set in Dublin, so it was really authentic. That's one. Also, I would say the Abbey Theatre had money to produce the play. So in terms of the production, it was well funded and it was really very realistic in terms of the setting, in terms of the costume, in fact, in terms of the mise en scène. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The American production, on the other hand, doesn't have money, but what it has is, I like the innovativeness that was brought into the production. Like, I thought the setting is amazing. In fact, that's the first time I'm seeing an alleyway theater. So basically, it's like the audience is part and parcel of the performance, unlike the Abbey production, where it's a demarcation and you're watching a slice of life on stage, you know, through a proscenium arc, you know. But another thing that I think the audience also, you know, so you look at the casting, you look at the production, you look at the budget, then the audience, every single line, they got it in Dublin. Every single line, they got it, you know. So, and I said, I think, I said to people that the only line we changed in Dublin was when Sean asked for, we wrote that Sean asked for Heineken. And the guy who played Sean said, no, his character will not be drinking Heineken, being a born again. And I think eventually he got 7 Up or something. So that's the only thing we changed. Of course, because of the fact that this play is traveling, which is amazing, because what happened was when there was, I don't know whether I said this during my post-show discussion, Shanara Gabriel, the director, we had a few interactions on Zoom. And one question she asked me that I never thought about was the rope. I said, what do you mean by the rope? He said the rope, bearing in mind that this is America, and also this is post-George Floyd America. Said, oh my God, I never thought about it. Of course, from the hula bula that the post-show discussion I had, and from some reviews, I can see that she actually meant, she understood our country and the way people react. I did not foresee that. I didn't foresee that coming, but Shanara, being the director, being an American-based director, she knew that was going to be a problem, and it was certainly a problem. So all our efforts to lessen the impact didn't work, apparently, because that's why I think they chose a very colorful rope, and also it was the lover that puts the rope on the body. Still doesn't matter. So that's one. Another thing that Rex told me about was the reference to Geronimo. He said because Washington, D.C. is sitting on the land of the Native Americans, that should be insensitive to at a point where Widow Queen refers to Christy Mahan as, Christy Malomo as Geronimo. Get out of there, Geronimo. So we changed that. Eventually, he gave me some suggestions, and I think we settled for Richard Nixon, because I thought Richard Nixon, every Nigerian would understand that, every American would understand that. So it has a better ring to it. So that's then. Of course, the costumes are different. I was wondering why they did not have BITCH written behind the pink velvet tee that I think is, I don't know what Sarah that's wearing. I never got any answer to that, but it's not a big deal for me, because as a theater scholar, what I wanted them to do was I wanted them to have freedom to interpret the play the way they deserve, and the way they deem fit. And also from my discussion with them, I told them that regardless of what they have read about me, I understand that when you are doing a production, there might be certain changes that you will have to make. And also the stage directions are suggestions. They're not sacrosanct as much as the lines themselves. So to just answer your question, the difference is different in setting, different in production. The fact of the matter is, if another person had done the production in Dublin, we could have seen what we saw in America. You know what I mean? But so every performance, every production will be different, and I think that's the beauty of theater.
Great, thank you. I agree. Challenges can become opportunities.
Precisely. Yeah.
Great. So Christopher is a refugee, and like many people who come to a new country, he reinvents himself.
Yeah.
And particularly in terms of his relationship to his father, who represents both his father, his biological father, but also his fatherland.
Correct.
His nation. And how far do you think Christopher's reinvention goes? How is he transformed?
Well, I think the first thing we should clarify first, for record purposes, he's not a refugee, he's seeking refuge.
Yeah, very
right?
good. Yes.
And as Sean has explained, he's an asylum seeker, but he wouldn't say that. So what he says is, I'm seeking refuge. So what happens is asylum seekers are seeking refuge. So they become a refugee after they've been granted the asylum application, after it has become successful. For me, the truth of the matter is, somebody says playwrights write a bit of themselves, right? And I think down the question you are talking about how Christy and Peggy are stands in for me and Roddy. So we're going to talk about that later.
Yes, right.
But I believe everybody who migrates is looking for something is looking to discover himself.
Yes.
I used to tell people in Ireland that they should be glad that people are coming into the country, because anybody who migrates is somebody who is very ambitious, very strong, somebody who wants to better himself. And what they do most of the time is when they get to where they're going, they give the best of themselves.
Yes.
Because they have to justify that migration.
Absolutely.
Right. So the question you're asking, how does it transform himself? The truth of the matter is, I've always argued that Nigeria is a country that is cursed with too many blessings. I think it's very, very akin to what James Joyce said, that like Ireland is a soul that fits on his own piglet or something like that, right? Yes. So Nigeria does not recognize you until you've gone out to discover yourself.
Right.
Like the prodigal son, biblically. So the guy has never been the center of attraction before in his life. He has never been listened to in his life.
Right.
But for the first time, he sees people listening to him. And the truth of the matter is, I would like to argue that a lot of Black people are like that. They get to a place where people are, maybe out of courtesy, out of polite, they let you have your say. And by having your say, you begin to realize that you have something to say.
Good point.
Right? Yes. And then what happens thereafter then is you must justify the attentiveness of those people.
Right.
So if you fabricate things, there's something we say, you might fake it until you make it. That's exactly what Christy Brown does. These guys are listening to me, right? So I said to people, and I've written before, that asylum seekers are good storytellers.
Yes.
Because it's not what you are running away from that will grant you asylum. It is how you tell the story.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So as a matter of fact, if nothing happens, I can tell the story very well, so be it.
Right.
Right? So through that, he has found it within 24 hours. This man, in fact, less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
This man becomes a man. And the simple reason is because he's listened to. And I believe that every human being has a potential to realize that potential when they are given the opportunity. So what happens is, by running away from his father and his fatherland, I think what Christopher Maloma has done is he has realized his own potential. So when he goes back home with his dad, he says, no more boy. He has become a man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that for me, that's a transformation. So and again, as you rightly said, the father represents the fatherland. So coming back to Nigeria, hopefully he's not going to be a boy anymore. He's going to start. He's now in charge of his own destiny.
Yes.
And hopefully he's going to go ahead and make life of himself.
Right. So that's a really good point, because in fact, so we could say that instead of reinventing himself, Christopher is finding himself.
He's finding himself, yes. I think it's not revenge. I think he finds himself. I would argue that it discovers himself. The thing about it is, like, I feel a lot of people are not sure who they are.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But when they are given the opportunity, they now realize, oh, I've got this ability. So this man who doesn't know how to chase women before now understands the power of words.
Right.
And he becomes a poet.
Right.
He becomes the storyteller. And the truth of the matter is, he can use that storytelling ability to become a successful business person, you know, in Nigeria when he comes back. So he has discovered his talents. He's discovered his abilities. Well, if you say revert himself, I don't know, but I would argue that he has found himself.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a very good point. So now in 2017, when we had the centenary production of it was the centenary of James Synge's play, and that's when your and Roddy Doyle's Playboy was produced.
Right.
One critic, his name is Peter Ani Nzekwe,
yeah,
states that the play is, and I'm going to quote and read it, cursed until Adigun and Doyle set Christopher towards the path of redemption, and he redeems himself. He is under a curse that is of tragic consequences to him and to our world. So my question to you is, would you say that the play has been somewhat cursed in light of everything you and Roddy Doyle have gone through with its Irish production, and how you have parted ways as a result?
Well, I wouldn't say the play is cursed.
No.
I wouldn't say. What I will say is, what happened was the worst side of interculturalism.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'd written about this in the article I submitted to Matthew. And when I was thinking about my question, I was thinking I would actually, I'm sure you've heard of Claire Constantine before. I think he wrote something called Joy Luck or something. And he says interculturalism at its best is a reinforcement of international understanding and friendship.
Yes.
A celebration of common bonds of creativity. At its worst, it is a tangled web of false assumptions and distorted images, a reinforcement of the very hegemonic relationship it desires to eradicate.
Right.
My point is, I felt, I'm very, this is very personal, this is my personal view. I felt what happened was, when I finished writing the play with Roddy Doyle, the man, the friend, the colleague, his machinery took over when we finished. And that machinery worked out of sync with everything interculturalism, as far as I'm concerned. And that was, I think, what happened in terms of that. I don't think it's cursed. But if I need to address what the critic said, I've actually not thought about it until now, that it is a good thing for Christopher Malomo to return to fatherland with his father. Because if it doesn't turn up, we don't have a play actually. Because then he's a murderer.
Right, exactly.
There's no proof that he didn't kill him.
Right.
So by man turning up, might be bad news for Christie's celebrity status, but a good news for him because they redeemed from the unforgivable crime of killing your father.
Right.
Which is what Oedipus did, right? Or Oedipus does, right? You know what I'm saying? So I've never even thought about that. So I think that's where the critique is coming from. So the father turning up is not a bad thing. So the play is cursed, really. It would have been a tragedy for Christopher Malomo, the way it is tragic for Oedipus, right?
Yeah.
Until the father turns up. So if Oedipus' father has turned up,
right,
all that nonsense wouldn't have happened.
Right, absolutely.
Him marrying his dad, him marrying his mother, and things like that, right? So,
right.
So I think that's what the critic is referring to. As regards the relationship between me, I just thought Ireland or Dublin, the Abbey Theatre, Roddy Doyle's agents were not prepared for the success that greeted the play.
Yes, I agree. I mean, there was a lot of talk that really pitted the two of you against each other unnecessarily.
Precisely.
And were misrepresenting words and your own words.
Precisely.
To the point that there was the result was miscommunication, as you said.
Correct.
And really, in that way, that is a tragedy, because we have the first, we have the first truly intercultural collaboration that has been, destroyed as a result.
Well, for me, I don't want to talk for Roddy here,
right?
But I felt Roddy should have stepped in, and he has everything. What happened was, like, I've told everybody that I was so surprised at the reception I got in America and what the reviewers did. They were very unbiased. They just saw this is a good collaboration and they went for it. But as far as Ireland was concerned, Roddy was a man. I was just like an appendix, so to speak.
Yes.
And I felt Roddy could have stepped in. Maybe Roddy could have said, you know what, let's try and go on the late show. And just go, you know what, this is one work we did together. So by the time they want to redeem the situation, it was far, far too late. So it is indeed tragic.
Yeah. So maybe in a way, this American production is a way of redeeming the play, in that it puts you on equal footage in the view of the critics, as you were saying, because we are not in Roddy Doyle's homeland.
I see.
Right?
I agree with you. I agree with you completely. There was one particular reviewer that, I don't know whether you saw it. I think the review came on the 21st. When I read the review, I was so flattered. He said, even Christopher Malomo will be happy with what Adigun has done with him, or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a kind of the fact that I lived in Ireland, the fact that I'd done some work in Ireland before I went on to do Playboy with Roddy Doyle. I'm very sorry to say to you, Eva, that what I saw in the papers, the reviews I saw in America were the things I was expecting in Ireland.
Right. And really, so it's really a question of context and cultural reception.
Precisely. And also
the politics.
It's also, yes, the politics of representation.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
The question is whether you like it or not, the play, as far as they're concerned, is an Irish classic.
Yes.
And it should remain in a domain of one of our own. You know what I mean? But the interculturality of it was because I saw what a lot of Irish people didn't see.
Right. Well, and
couldn't see.
And that was the beauty of the play, right?
Precisely. Without a doubt.
Another point of view.
Correct.
So, do you think
to answer your question though,
yeah.
but I think that the play has been redeemed.
Yes.
Because otherwise, it will remain in the dustbin of productions.
Right.
But now that it has been redeemed, hopefully it can get a new life.
Yes, and that's really what I was going to ask you. So thank you for helping me with that question. So now that there is an opportunity for not just redemption, but also perhaps reconciliation. And if that is so, what form do you think it might take? Or is it too early to tell?
Well, the thing about it is like it's not for me to facilitate, it's not for me to initiate. You know what I mean? It took me a long time to get over what I went through, as you may imagine, you know. But I've decided to look at it as one of those things in life that will make you become who you are. You know what I mean?
Yes.
What I went through was not a good experience at all. Mm-hmm. I mentioned this to my daughter, who is now a student in. She's doing psychology in a university in Holland, and she took my analogy of me and Roddy are like two parents over a child. She took it to another level by saying that what happened to that play in 2008 was akin to abusing a child.
I see.
In her view.
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought about it like that. I've always thought about the fact that what happens that, for instance, let me give you a very good example. I was very respectful of Roddy while they were asking for changes in this play. Mm-hmm. What I meant by that is I felt there was no way I'll be able to write a big chunk paragraph, you know? Yeah. Because the beauty of the work was I've said it again and again, the beauty of the way we worked was every single word was negotiated.
Yes.
You know, and it's like two people in a relationship talking about their children. Where does he go to school? How much do we pay him? All of a sudden, I'm now the single mother or the single father.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's not for me to initiate. But the truth about it, as I said to you in Washington, I'm happy for Roddy to come and see the play. If any producer wants to go reach out to him,
right?
I have no objection. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the thing about it is like as you be asking in questions in later questions, the way we settled was he gave me all the rights to the play. That was a settlement agreement, right?
So now, alimony.
Say again?
Like alimony.
Is it alimony or full custody? You know? Mm-hmm. I don't know whether it's alimony. I would say it's full custody.
Full custody. Yeah.
I think it's more or less like both of them. It's not alimony. What's alimony again? Alimony is tell me what's alimony again.
The payment you give to the parent who has full custody.
I see. So I wasn't paid anything, by the way. I mean, I wasn't paid the baby.
The rights, meaning the rights.
As far as I'm concerned, mm-hmm. The baby was not well treated when they took it from me in 2008, and I don't want that to happen to that baby again.
Right.
Maybe that's what they thought. Maybe that's what they felt. Maybe that's what I don't know why they came about it, but somehow they came about the fact that the thing about it. The bottom line is this. The bottom line is this. I don't know. I don't know what I've said it before. It was Rupert Murray, one of the directors of my company, who suggested I should work with Roddy.
Right.
He was the one who also said I should go to who reminded me or informed me in 2004 that in 2007 it will be the centenary of the play.
Right.
So I thought I had 3 good years to work towards it. And what happened, Eva, was I worked assiduously, as if my life depended on it, for that play to happen on the Abbey stage. So I think after the fight, we just thought, you know what? This guy fought for this. He should have it. Right. That's my thought. That's what I feel. Right. So I think, yes, the play has been redeemed. The play has been done. I'm very happy, and I'm very, very happy for Rex that it was a huge success.
Yes.
So hopefully this will redeem, and this will make us realize that perhaps we produce a good baby, and the baby is becoming has become well known in America, and hopefully there'll be other runs. And as I said, there's no way I would object to Roddy being invited to see the play, or right. I'm happy. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned before that I was going to ask you about the connection between Christopher and Peggy, and how it was pretty much a representation, in a way, of your relationship with Roddy Doyle.
Yeah.
Speak to that.
Yeah. I think I've alluded to that in answering some of my questions, in answering the former questions. Yes, I think it's very much like that. If you look at the fact that I'm back in Nigeria now, right?
Right.
And the reason why I'm back in Nigeria was the fallout, was an outcome of the fallout. If there was no fallout, I would likely still be in Ireland, with my family. So I think yes. But the question that remains open is what happens with Peggy. And the truth is this, let's be clear. From some of the things I've read, reviewers, I think there's actually a genuine love between Christy and Peggy.
Yes.
Because both of them are trying to get away from that encroaching space that they are born into. Yes. So I've been thinking about an idea called Pegging in Nigeria. I don't know whether I mentioned that to you in Washington.
We just started, yeah.
Very good. So I would love, if I'm given the inspiration, I would love to see Pegging come looking for Christy in Nigeria. And I think that would be another intercultural drama, right?
Yes.
Now, the fact of the matter is, I'm open to reconciliation. I'm open to negotiation, not because I cannot get on with my life as I'm doing now,
obviously,
but just to show people that in my language there's a saying that even the teeth and the tongue do fight, but they have to settle things amicably so that they can continue to feed the body. You know what I'm saying? So it is my hope that Peggy, there was a particular, I don't know who, maybe it was the guy, the woman was asking me. She didn't know that the fuck off is not to Christy. The fuck off. Because what happens is, as Peter Uzekwe has rightly said, the play, by the fact that the father turns up and Christopher agrees to go back to Nigeria with his father, there's redemption.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is there redemption for Peggy? I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's why it's very important for Peggy to go look for her real love.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Especially because we saw that Christopher discovered himself in a way. And developed himself in a way he couldn't have at home. If we have Peggy do this, going go, for instance, in search of Christy in Nigeria, she has the opportunity to also discover herself in a way she cannot do at home.
Precisely. And you know what, as you just said that now, you know what's interesting? Yeah. So what you said now, which is very interesting, is the moment a white person steps on the soil of Nigeria, everything about his social class, anything about whatever, gets out of the window. She automatically becomes somebody who is rich, well-educated, and should be respected.
Mm-hmm.
So when Peggy steps down on this Nigerian soil, she's going to be treated like a VIP.
Mm-hmm.
And that also may help her to find herself and discover herself.
Yes, in a different context, and yes, a different point of view. And yes, so I really like your idea, actually. I think it would make a great play. And
it will make a great play too. Is the time you just need the time and the space, you know, and the muse, you know.
And then once that happens, then both are redeemed, right? Then the play is redeemed. There's a reconciliation of the parents of the play in some way, at least, if not literally, at least
metaphorically.
Yes. So the realization that it is not really that there was no love or understanding between them, but they were not in a space where they could actually come together because of the challenges.
Correct.
That they were encountering.
Correct.
It was not the right time. So
correct.
Something to think about.
Yes, it's as I said, is that's what's good about Ireland, you know. If I were in Ireland and you bring this kind of idea to the Arts Council, they might throw money at you, and the moment you get money, you have to justify the money. You know what I mean? That's what I miss about Ireland, I must be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. You know? So anyway, do you have any other thoughts that you would like to express about the play or the future or anything?
No, it's just
pretty much what I had.
All I can say is it was a real joy, and I said it a number of times. It was a real joy to work with Rex. He's such a gentleman.
He is.
I'm really, really proud of Rex. I thought what he did was very brave and bold, you know. Mm-hmm. And as I said, he was full of praises for me. Meanwhile, I thought he was the one that deserves all the praises, you know. But to just conclude, I hope and I pray that now that the play has been done in the States, it is my hope that the jinx has been broken. Because for me, it was like, as Peter said, it was like the play is cursed, as you were trying to allude to. I think, yes, because of what happened, it seems that the play has become untouchable. But now, it is my hope that people will begin to realize that it's actually touchable, and that I'm not as bad as as I was made out to be, because it seems to me that the kind of impression that the legal industry gave about me was like, this man is just a troublesome guy and all this stuff. So I hope, I pray, that's all behind me now, and I can move on with my life. That's all I can say.
Well, yes, and in a way, that was the redemption that the play needed.
Precisely.
Lifted the metaphorical curse that Peter and Zekwe was talking about earlier, you know, in his review, and opened the door, as you said, you know, now that you have presented it in a very much impartial venue.
Very good.
Right? We have a way to move forward. So I wish you all the best. I absolutely loved the play. I really loved the intimate space in which it was produced. I think Rex and the whole team and the cast were marvelous, and all the best. And I look forward to talking to you again in the future at some point, and stay in touch.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
God bless. All right, bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.